How we doing? Today we're going to be reacting to serial killers that are still on the loose today by Chillin' Scares. I want to get chat pulled up so I could, interact with y'all. Alright. Hey, shout out Chillin' Scares before we start, so I don't forget.
Vending machine killer. On April 30th, 1985, a 45-year-old truck driver stopped near a vending machine in Fukuyama, Japan. He was exhausted from work and was looking for an energy drink to help him
Hey,
power through
you
the
want to
rest.
watch this one?
Huh?
You want to watch this one?
No, not right now. I will in a minute.
Alright.
What are you just getting started?
Yeah.
Are you joining with your buddy or no?
No, I'm just doing this by myself, naked.
Wait, don't y'all have a chat room and then like
Yeah.
get on at like what time? Like it was.
9. But I'm just doing this one by myself type.
Oh, so you're just recording it so you can post it
Oh, I'm streaming it.
right now?
Yeah, it's live.
Oh,
You want to say hi?
what's the name of it?
Just,
Stay tuned. It's getting better.
yeah, it's getting better. Type.
BRB.
Alright.
Let you get it going.
Rest of the day. When he approached the vending machine looking for an energy drink to help him power through the rest of the day. When he approached the vending machine, however, he noticed something surprising. A bottle of Oranaminsi energy drink was already in the pickup tray. Thinking he'd lucked down on a free drink, the truck driver wasted no time chugging it down.
Nah, what would y'all do? Low-key, I'll drink it because, I don't know why I would drink it, but it's free drink, right? And somebody probably just forgot to get it. They thought that the vending machine wasn't working. 5 minutes later, boom, falls down. But let's see what happened.
What he didn't know was that this would be the last drink he would ever taste.
Oh.
Instead of the refreshing feeling he was looking for, he felt something horribly wrong with his body. A bitter, burning sensation quickly spread throughout his throat, followed by an intense wave of nausea. It wasn't long before he was lying on the road in excruciating pain. He was rushed to a nearby hospital where doctors discovered a lethal amount of paraquat dichloride in his system.
What's that?
Paraquat is an herbicide that was quite common in Japan at the time. More importantly, it's also highly toxic to humans.
What's that,
When
Derp
ingested,
Stalker?
it can lead to severe nausea, throat inflammation, internal chemical burns, and eventually death.
Wait.
This is also why it's been banned completely. Internal chemical burns, and when ingested, it can lead to severe nausea, throat inflammation, internal chemical burns, and eventually death.
So the person intentionally put that in. He's a loser. Like, he's in Japan, so he's probably not gonna see the stream or ever come for me. Like, this was made 10 months ago. He might still be alive. He was never caught. So what I said was just a joke.
Also why it's been banned completely from over 70 countries to date. Unfortunately, despite knowing the reason for his illness, there was nothing the doctors could do to save his life. There's no antidote for the deadly chemical today, let alone back then. So, after hanging on to his life for a month, the truck driver passed away on the 30th of May, 1985.
Rest in peace.
At first, investigators assumed that given the nature of his work, he might have accidentally encountered the toxic substance while on duty. However, after reviewing his haul records, they found no trace of this herbicide or anything remotely linked to it. This left them with only one conclusion. The chemical was mixed into the drink he consumed just moments.
Wait, was it not like... Y'all know how, like, when you open up a drink, like, and it's... Oh, wait, this is a glass bottle, though. Oh, that's easily poisonable. I was gonna say, like, you know how, like, the thing, like, snaps, like... Yeah, this one didn't do that. Oh, that sucks. Rest in peace.
Before collapsing in agony. But with no leads or concrete evidence, they couldn't determine whether it was a murder or self-inflicted act, resulting in the case getting shelved for the time being. Now, while this might sound absurd today, you have to understand that paraquat was readily available in the country at the time. You didn't need any prescription or identification to purchase the chemical, leading to over 1,400 people using it as the poison of their choice in 1984 alone. In other words, the possibility of it being self-inflicted was just as high. However, just as the investigators were about to give up on this case completely, they received tragic news. Another person had fallen victim to the same poison after consuming Oranaminsi on the 5th of September.
So, honestly, this could be the company doing it. But I don't know why they would do that, because it'd be like, a big lawsuit and stuff like that. But who goes to like random vending machines and put the bottle in there and then lace it with whatever herbicide it was? That's terrible.
Then another 6 days later, and one more 2 weeks after that. By this point, it was clear that someone was deliberately poisoning vending machine drinks across Japan.
Oh, never mind.
This was the work of a deranged serial killer. Unfortunately, this supposed killer was also extremely thorough. He didn't leave any fingerprints or DNA evidence on the drinks he tampered with.
Wait, so he probably worked for the vending machine company. Because if you think about it, like, nobody else, unless you like had like a special key or you're like a locksmith, could get inside of the thing and put the drinks inside. Wait, no, never mind. He put them in like the bottom, or I don't know, but he probably worked at the company, or worked for the, just climbing the vending machine. That's I never thought of that. How do you climb in a vending machine? What are you talking about?
Only targeted vending machines with no CCTV cameras nearby. As for why his victims willingly drank the unknowingly poisoned drinks he left behind,
that door at the bottom, trust. Yeah.
As for why his victims willingly drank the unknowingly poisoned drinks he left behind, that had to do with the buy one get one free promotion Oranaminsi was running around the time to entice younger consumers. However, since some people only wanted the one drink, they often left the second free drink near the vending machine as a gift for the next person. This was common enough that people didn't find the lace drinks suspicious and drank them without a second thought.
Oh, so this is a normal thing for people to like leave behind a drink. Oh, it is Japan, so they do have kindness. I would have just kept it and like put it in my fridge or something. But that's nice of them to do that, but they didn't. I mean, obviously they probably didn't know that it was going to be lace and they're going to die. Rest in peace those people though.
Sadly, this method was terribly effective. By the end of the year, this mysterious vending machine killer had claimed the lives of 12 victims and had severely injured
12?
35 more. But as I mentioned earlier, this
47 people affected. That's crazy.
This killer was a master of hiding his tracks. He operated all across western and central Japan, as well as Tokyo, making it near impossible for investigators to pinpoint his location. The lack of evidence also made it difficult.
Who has that much time on their hands, though, to go out to a random vending machine, make sure there's no CCTV cameras, and then lace a drink and then just leave? You've got to be unemployed, or just probably some fat chud. Honestly, you're probably right. Gosh, that dude's a loser.
To figure out his motive. Some speculated that he was doing all this to extort money from Atsuka Pharmaceutical, the company that made Oranaminsi. This is because in 1984, a group called the Mystery Men with 21 Faces threatened to poison food products unless the companies paid them money. So some believed that the vending machine killer was a copycat and wanted something similar.
See, that was my guess. I think. I don't remember what I said, but I said it's probably somebody working at the factory or somebody that works for the vending machine. Yeah.
However, this theory didn't last very long because Atsuka Pharmaceutical didn't receive any demands or extortion letters from the perpetrator. Additionally, the killer also began using other drinks, like the drink Real Gold and even Coca-Cola. Hiroaki Iwao, a Tokyo professor of criminal sociology, proposed a more disturbing theory regarding the killer's motives. He stated, "It is not uncommon for Japanese who live under tremendous pressure, both on the job and in overcrowded communities, to let out their frustrations by hurting someone else."
That's not what I would expect from Japanese people. Shout out Japanese people watching. But I thought they'd just be like, nice, keep to themselves, but I guess not. I've never been to Japan, so don't quote me on that.
The person responsible may even wait around to see who buys the poisoned drink. He or she may find this as a kind of exhilarating release from the tensions of life in Japan. But even if this was the truth, it still didn't bring investigators any closer to catching the suspect. Left with no other options, the authorities turned to the public and launched a nationwide campaign on the 27th of September. They placed signs and distributed leaflets telling people to avoid suspicious free drinks and to properly inspect the cap seals on their beverages before consumption. They also instructed vending machine owners to investigate their stock for any anomalies before consumption, avoid suspicious free drinks, and to properly inspect the cap seals on their beverages before consumption.
Also, that was like the cap. That's easy to put back on. No, wait. It's aluminum, so, it probably like rips a little bit. Oh, that... I mean, most people probably don't know that. Or didn't know that. Probably still don't. But, yeah, it's sad.
They also instructed vending machine owners to investigate their stock for any anomalies and told chemical shops to monitor their customers more closely.
See, so it's all going into, like, my theory. Right.
It's unclear how effective this campaign was, as the number of victims kept increasing even after its launch. But then something unexpected happened. On the 17th of November, the murder spree stopped completely after the death of a 17-year-old girl. She was the only female to have died from the poisoning. It's possible that the person who committed these atrocities had a moral code against harming women.
Oh, it's like some mafia stuff then. So, after a girl that's below 18, I guess the way I can say it on YouTube, died, that's when it all stopped. So that was probably like around 50, a little over 50 people. Oh. I mean, at least he had like some good intentions, I guess. I mean, he's still a terrible person, regardless.
It's possible that the person who committed these atrocities had a moral code against harming women, though that's nothing more than a baseless speculation. Due to the complete lack of evidence, the vending machine killer was never identified, cementing this case as one of the most chilling, unsolved mysteries in Japanese history.
Do not pay your car insurance bill. I repeat,
Shout out Smarter
do
Auto.
not pay your bill yet. So I found this website and look at the difference.
I'm gonna pay my bills when I
Little
want.
Rock serial stabber. On April 11, 2021, the
Where's
Little Rock
Little
Police Department received a distress call.
Is that Kansas? Oh, it's Arkansas. I was close. Same spelling.
From South Pulaski Street regarding a potential homicide. When they arrived at the scene, they found a middle-aged woman lying on the street with stab wounds all over her body. This woman turned out to be 41-year-old Deborah Walker. She was homeless at the time and was living on the streets when this incident happened.
That's
She was
sad.
quickly taken to the hospital where medical staff discovered that she had been stabbed at least 15 times. Despite lying on the street, bleeding for what may have been hours, she miraculously survived and managed to regain consciousness the same day.
Nah, shout out her. What'd you say, dog? Oh, okay. I need to turn off that Streamlabs. I don't. Now you get. I don't use Streamlabs anymore. I'm gonna remove them as a mod after the stream.
Investigators also visited her in the hospital to gather any information she could provide about her attacker. Unfortunately, she was attacked somewhere between 1 and 4 a.m. It was still dark outside, and all that she saw was that her attacker was a tall, African-American male with a slender build. Now, in most other similar...
So, if y'all think about it, right? It could low-key be Wemby, like Wemby. Tall, African-American, slender build. Whoa, what's this? It's crazy.
cases, such limited information would hardly be enough to generate any leads. But in this instance, the description Deborah provided left the investigators in disbelief. That's because her attacker's profile closely matched the perpetrator of another incident that took place about 8 months earlier in the surrounding area. The victim of that incident was 64-year-old Lyrik Eugene McChristian. He was living in Little Rock with his daughter Sarah, who was on probation at the time. On the 20th of August, 2020, he had a medical emergency and was taken to the hospital in an ambulance. He was discharged from the hospital the next morning. However, when the hospital...
So, he's not a serial killer then. He's more like a serial assaulter. Because all of them are surviving and getting, like, you know, safe out of hospitals. I mean, unless, like, you know, I'll keep watching, he, like, you know, murdered 5 people.
Hospital staff tried to contact Sarah so she could pick him up, but she wasn't answering her phone. So they gave Larry the information about a nearby homeless shelter and a bus token to get there. Later that day, Sarah came to the hospital looking for her father, only to learn that he'd been discharged hours ago. She then reached out to the homeless facility Larry was told about, but they didn't know anything about his whereabouts either. The only option she had was to file a missing persons report and wait for the police to find Larry. 2 days later, on the 24th of August, Sarah received the call she was waiting for. Tragically, it wasn't the news she had hoped for. According to the official report, the Little Rock Police Department found Larry's body on South Gaines Street at around 2 a.m. They identified him by the hospital discharge papers he had on him. More importantly, he had multiple stab wounds on his body and was unfortunately already dead by the time the police arrived. His death was declared a homicide, and the investigators began looking for the clues almost immediately.
That's sad.
This proved quite impossible at first, since there were no witnesses, and there wasn't anything that could be used as evidence at the crime scene. However, after
Could you imagine though? Being like either a family or like even the guy himself, knowing that the person that killed your family member or best friend is still on the loose, that's just unsettling. And, being the killer, having that on your conscience all the time, that's gotta get stressful. You gotta be like, man, I don't know why I did that. That's terrible.
Affecting the surrounding houses, they had a major breakthrough. The CCTV camera outside a nearby house had captured the suspect walking down the street when suddenly he spots Larry and begins walking towards him.
What's up?
After committing the crime, he tries leaving the area, only to stop, go back, and stab Larry one last time before fleeing. As mentioned earlier, this man matched the profile Deborah gave to the police, leading
He
investigators
looks more like
believe
white though. Yeah, Chad, doesn't he look white?
he was attacked by the same person. While looking into older cases, they also connected the same killer to another murder that happened in the area on September 23rd, 2020. The victim of this
So this is recent. I was thinking it's like the 90s. Oh.
His name was 62-year-old Jeff Welch, another homeless man who was living in an abandoned home. On the morning of that day, Jeff's friend found him on the porch of his house with a stab wound on his neck. By this point, the investigators knew they were dealing with a deranged serial killer. However, just as they uncovered the connection between the three attacks, another tragedy unfolded. On April 12, 2023, a day after the attack on Deborah Walker, another one of his victims was found on the Wright Avenue overpass.
So this dude, he goes for homeless people that he knows people probably won't be looking for him. And he probably doesn't have family. So he's less likely to get caught. That's terrible.
The only thing in common with these 4 attacks was that they all involved homeless individuals, and they all happened between 1 and 4 a.m. There seemed to be no clear...
I've always wanted to know how, they know... it is messed up. I've always wanted to know how they know, what times the things occurred. Deborah was stabbed at 2 a.m. I'll never understand how it's unless y'all know and y'all want to tell me that, I'll never understand how they know what time it happened.
Pattern on how the perpetrator selected his targets. This left the Little Rock community terrified to leave their homes, fearing they might become the next victim of the serial killer on the loose. After realizing the potential danger of this situation, LRPD began spreading awareness about the man who is now being referred to as the Little Rock Slasher. They also turned to the public to ask for any information they could provide on the matter, and even announced a $20,000 reward.
What's ASK alert? Oh, that's probably Arkansas Little Rock Police Department.
We also need your help. If you have seen anything suspicious or have surveillance cameras on your homes or businesses in this area, please contact us at 501.
Unfortunately, despite having CCTV footage of the suspect, the Little Rock...
Wait, so they didn't know where he went afterwards?
Slasher was never caught. The case remains a mystery to this day. Or at least that's what the official reports say. While researching this case, I came across an Arkansas-based blog called the Snarky Media Report. The authors of this blog did their own investigation into the Slasher case, and what they found was shocking to say the least. Put simply, they claim to have found the true identity of the killer after talking to multiple locals and Deborah, who, according to their blog, already knew the identity of her attacker. They also uncovered many details about this supposed killer, including...
Wait, so he's not... Well, he is on loose. Never mind. I thought it was, for a second I thought it was serial killers that never got caught. But he got caught, but like there's not enough evidence, I guess, for him to be like persecuted, whatever it is.
His criminal record, which reveals that he has already served 2 prison terms in Arkansas for felony convictions of domestic violence. Also, his history with drug abuse and how it made him very agitated and violent. The authors of this blog also claim to have context and how
Court records show that 3 days before the slasher killing, a family member filed a petition to commit him for addiction treatment and claiming in part he was homicidal and addicted to drugs. They stated he was doing all kinds of drugs and his exact whereabouts were unknown. They stated he was known to be walking up and down the street and walks for miles and miles. Additionally, they stated he was very agitated, and when you don't give him what he wants, when he wants it, he can be violent.
Very agitated and violent. The authors of this blog also claim to have contacted the alleged killer's previous landlord, who gave them this image of the perpetrator. Which begs the question, if they know so much about the slasher, including his legal name, why didn't they give this info to the police?
Yeah, facts. Like, and they also knew his old landlord, so he could have been long gone, but they decided not to. So, what do y'all think? Is it more on the police department or like the citizens for not reporting him?
That's where the case goes from creepy to bizarre, since, according to them, they've already given everything they had to the relevant authorities. Despite this, the Little Rock police didn't make any progression in catching the serial killer. Snarky Media also published a video of the Little Rock mayor and police chief refusing to answer questions about the case. This seems to hint at something incredibly shady going on behind the scenes. That's said, there's no way for me.
Okay, so here's my theory. Is somebody involved with like the Arkansas government or like the police, and he's doing this at, between 1 and 4 a.m. after he gets off, and, he hides his identity, and he helps, like Dexter, he like helps investigate the crime scenes, and he really is the killer.
To confirm if the authors of the Snarky Media
And no, I didn't spoil it. That's common knowledge.
Longer telling the truth. For all we know, their whole investigation is made up, and this is just some random guy who has nothing to do with the 4 attacks, and it's all a ploy to make the Little Rock Police Department look bad. Most of the information they've gathered seems to check out with what's released publicly by the authorities. The only discrepancy in their investigation is the age of the suspect. Officials believe the slasher to be young, possibly in his 20s, but the authors of this blog state that the person they found was 46 years old. Unfortunately, this is where the...
Wait. Let's see if Google knows. 2020. No, that's not him. Yeah, that's really the only picture they got. Yeah, all they got is the pictures that the YouTube video already showed. Dang, that's terrible. Rest in peace to them.
The leads end. Whether Snarky Media is telling the truth or not remains uncertain. What is certain, however, is that the case remains unsolved to this day. The Little Rock slasher is likely still out there and can continue his murder spree at any moment.
Now, the thing is, this is also in 2020, so people weren't going out their house in general, so, like, he probably knew this, and he planned it, like, pretty smartly, honestly. Like, it's obviously not the best thing to do to anybody. I mean, like I've said in the previous streams, like, it's a terrible thing to do to somebody.
Thanks to Trade Coffee for sponsoring. It's offer subscribe. Wow. They start on moves. With
Alright.
on February 17, 1997, 21-year-old Patrick McNeil went out with his friends. He spent the evening out drinking with his friends in the Dapper Dog Bar in Manhattan. During this time, he likely drank more than he could handle, resulting in him throwing up in the bar's bathroom before leaving in a highly unstable and disoriented state.
I mean, that's just like common for like New York, I'm guessing, because I know that they like, I don't know if it's New York or Vegas that it's called the city that never. I think it's Vegas that's called the city that never sleeps, but I know New Yorkers, they stay out late
Patrick
also.
was then seen turning left onto 90th Street, heading in the direction of the East River. This was the last
He was found in the East River.
time anyone would see Patrick alive. Following this night out, Patrick vanished into thin air. Despite extensive efforts, authorities found no leads or clues to his whereabouts. That is until April 7, 1997, when Patrick's lifeless body was found in the East River.
What I tell y'all? I mean, obviously, like, I shouldn't be bragging about that. But, you know, he said he's heading towards the East River. Rest in peace to him, though. That's sad.
50 days after his disappearance. Duty Sergeant Flint's body was found in the East River 50 days after his disappearance.
50 days. It's like almost 2 months.
Sergeant of the NYPD Special Investigation Division, Kevin Gannon, was called to the scene to assist with the body's recovery and examination. Kevin had been a seasoned detective for years, and by this point there was little that could surprise him. However, the circumstances surrounding Patrick's death disturbed him to his core. The more he looked into the detective for years, and by this point there was little that could surprise him. However, the circumstances surrounding Patrick's death disturbed him to his core. The more he looked into it, the more strange the situation became. For instance, Kevin noted that Patrick's body wasn't decomposed enough to have been floating in the river for a week, let alone the past 50 days. He also found burn marks on Patrick's body, hinting at the possibility of him being restrained prior to his death. Kevin knew that something wasn't.
So he's probably kidnapped, then killed, then dumped in the river, like, within those days.
Right. Unfortunately, due to the complete lack of evidence pointing to the contrary, Patrick's death was ruled as an accident. Kevin kept thinking over this feeling for the next year before coming across a case that reinforced his suspicions even further. On February 13, 1998, another body was found in the same stretch of water. This body was later identified as 22-year-old Lawrence R. Andrews, who had gone missing on New Year's Eve after celebrating the event with his friends in Times Square. After getting on the case, it didn't take long for Kevin to notice eerie similarities between the two cases, as both bodies were found within yards of each other. Both of them were also young Caucasian males and were on track to have successful careers. They both disappeared in one of the most crowded cities in the world without any trace as well. Most importantly, Kevin also found similar oddities in both cases.
Nah, I can guarantee you somebody in that crowd saw them getting taken, or, you know, something, and, you know, didn't do anything about it. That's the sad truth about the world in general. And that's terrible.
Where the bodies were a lot less decomposed than they should have been, and there were burn marks indicating possible restraints before their death. Lawrence's case prompted Kevin to look for other similar cases across the U.S. He enlisted the help of fellow detective Anthony Duarte and a criminal justice professor, Dr. Lee Gilbertson. Together, they began investigating these cases, and soon a chilling pattern began to emerge. In total, they found 45 different instances of young men dying under shockingly similar circumstances as Patrick and Lawrence.
Yo, that's like almost, that's a lot. And it's all around the U.S. That's crazy.
Most of them went out for a night of drinking, became more intoxicated than usual, disappeared shortly after, and were later found dead in some body of water. Almost all of them were also Caucasian and on track to have a high-paying career like engineering after college. Most disturbingly, however, they also found graffiti of smiley faces near the bodies of at least a dozen different victims. This led to the three investigators creating the smiley face murder theory. According to this theory, these 45 and possibly many other deaths from the 1990s to 2010s weren't accidents in the slightest.
So this has been going on for like 20, 30 years, give or take?
Instead, they were murders committed by a single deranged person or an organized group of serial killers. This is the only logical explanation they could find to justify the many oddities and similarities in these incidents. That said, while this theory makes complete sense to some people, others aren't convinced one bit. Criminal profiler Pat Brown, for instance, called this theory ludicrous. She believes that the idea of connecting smiley faces, one of the most common graffiti symbols, with murders is just absurd, stating, "It's not an unusual symbol. If you look in any area 5 miles square, I bet you could find a smiley face."
Now that's also a good point. But the likelihood of it being a smiley face being at all 45 crime scenes or whatever is pretty unlikely, especially if it's like in different states and all that stuff, all around the U.S., maybe even all the way in, I don't know, like Jamaica.
The FBI also completely denied this theory in a statement, reading, "The FBI has reviewed the information about the victims provided by 2 retired police detectives who have dubbed these incidents the smiley face murders and interviewed an individual who provided information to the detectives. To date, we have not developed any evidence to support links between these tragic deaths or any evidence substantiating the theory that these deaths are the work of a serial killer or killers. The vast majority of these instances appear to be alcohol-related drownings." However, despite these said,
If it was alcohol-related drownings, then why do they have, like, restraint marks or burn marks or whatever they were? Because I don't think you get burned from getting drunk unless you're, like, really allergic, which you shouldn't be drinking if you're allergic anyways or at all.
backs, the 3 men have stuck with their theory. They're still working on finding evidence to back their observations. That said, if their hunch is correct, it would mean one of the most wicked serial killers in American history is still at large today.
It's crazy.
I-70 killer. Robin Fuldauer was a 26-year-old Indiana University graduate who was working at an Indianapolis Payless shoe source store near I-70 in 1992. The 8th of April was supposed to be her day off. However, just as she was getting ready to relax at home, the employee who was supposed to man the counter called in sick. Left with no other options, her manager called Robin and told her to cover the shift instead.
That's already messed up.
Robin wasn't very happy about this emergency shift change, but she reluctantly agreed, arriving at the store at 10 a.m. and starting her shift as usual. Unfortunately, her day was about to get a whole lot worse. Everything seemed normal until 2 p.m. when the manager called the store for a routine check. To her surprise, Robin wasn't picking up the phone. She kept trying for a few minutes before giving up and calling the Speedway gas station neighboring the shoe store. One of the gas station employees, a friend of Robin's, went to the Payless store to see if she was doing okay. However, what she found inside left her confused. The store was in slight disarray, and some of the shoes were missing from the shelves. The cash register was also open, and there was no money in it. Most concerning of all, there were no signs of Robin anywhere. Her friend called out Robin's name, hoping she was just in the back and would respond. But when she didn't hear anything from Robin after minutes of standing in the store, she became worried and called the police at around 2:20 p.m.
So somebody broke in, or probably didn't break in, walked in, acting like a little customer, looked for clothes, shoes, all that stuff, and then messed up the store. Robin probably got mad at her, or at them, told them to leave. Dude kidnapped her, put her in the car, stole the money, killed her, put her somewhere on I-70. Watch.
The cops arrived within minutes and began searching the store for clues on Robin's whereabouts. And it wasn't long before they made a devastating discovery. They found Robin lying in the store's back office, covered in blood. It was already too late. During questioning, an employee from the store across the street claimed to have seen a strange man loitering around the shoe store a couple hours earlier. According to this employee, the man sat on the curb for about a half hour, rifling through his bag and staring at the Payless store. They then saw the same man a few minutes later trying to hitch a ride back to Interstate 465, which was about a quarter mile from the store's location. Unfortunately, they were too far away to get a good look at the man's face. Given the money stolen from the register, and without any other leads, investigators filed this as nothing more than a robbery gone wrong. However, they couldn't have been more wrong. Because just 3 days later, something similarly tragic happened to 23-year-old Patricia Smith and 32-year-old Patricia Makers. The two were working at a bridal shop in Wichita along I-70. The incident happened a little past their usual closing time as they were waiting for a customer who had a pickup. When they saw a man approaching the store, they assumed that it was the customer. However, this man drew a gun on the two after entering the store, took them to the back, and executed both with shots to the back of their heads.
Wait.
As the killer was took that it was the
So
customer.
it was a bride's store. So he probably just got divorced. Wanted to take his anger out on women that work at stores because his ex-wife probably worked at a store, and he obviously, like I said, he decided to take his anger out on these women, as like a coping mechanism, I guess you said, and murdered them, stole the money, hitchhiked away back to 456 or whatever it was.
However, this man drew a gun on the two after entering the store, took them to the back, and executed both with shots to the back of their heads. As the killer was leaving the store, he crossed paths with the actual customer the girls were waiting for. Without hesitation, he aimed his gun at the man and ordered him to head to the back of the store. But the customer defied his command and ran, narrowly escaping with his life. He later helped the police draw a sketch of the killer. Unfortunately, the sketch didn't provide much of a breakthrough. By this point, the authorities were certain they were dealing with a serial killer, but despite their efforts, the killer's spree continued. By May 7th, he had taken 3 more victims in small, low-traffic stores along the I-70 highway. By the time investigators managed to compile a few more sketches, the I-70 killer stopped his quest and went into hiding. That is, until 1993, when he claimed 3 more victims along I-35 in Texas. He tried to hide his identity by changing his weapon, but the investigators were quick to notice the similarities. One of his victims, Vicky Webb, also managed to miraculously survive after getting shot in the neck. If he were ever caught, Vicky's testimony would have been crucial in bringing him to justice. Though, the I-70 killer was never found, and the case went cold for nearly 3 decades. However, then, in 2021, investigators released CCTV footage of a murder that happened in 2001. The suspect in this footage looks strikingly similar to the I-70 killer's sketches,
So why didn't they arrest the dude in the CCTV footage?
potentially giving authorities the lead they need to finally catch him. It's likely only a matter of time before he runs out of places to hide and is captured. But for now, he's still out there, evading police and leaving the case unresolved. We can only hope he doesn't take any more victims in the meantime.
Right. Hey, y'all, that was Chillin' Scares. I'm gonna give him a subscribe. Watch his videos a lot. I'm also gonna like the video. That was serial killer. Hold on, I actually want to see if the dude ever got caught. Wait, I-70. Well, what did I do? I-70 killer. Did he ever get caught? No, I don't think he did. Yeah, he remains unidentified. That's tragic. Like, that's terrible. Sorry it was a little short stream today, y'all. I just felt like reacting to videos. Hope y'all have a good rest of your night. Thanks for tuning in. If you didn't watch the stream, cause you always watch the next one on Twitch. Lyrik is not him. Hope y'all have a great rest of your night. Stay safe, stay blessed, and God bless.